Alliance has agreed to last-minute talks with the government and the ANC this morning to try to reach agreement on the country's new constitution. The alliance of right-wing white groups and the mainly Zulu Inkatha Freedom Party is threatening to boycott next year's non-racial elections. The South African Parliament is due to vote on the constitution on Wednesday.
With the vote on the draft constitution now imminent, there is intense pressure on negotiators from the government, the ANC and the Freedom Alliance. Once Parliament votes on the constitution, it will become nigh on impossible for the alliance to secure meaningful changes. The ANC and government will be trying to persuade the alliance to accept a formula whereby regional governments can raise their own taxes and write their own constitutions, arguing that this provides for the federalism which Chief Buthelezi demands. There is also speculation that the right wing is being offered an agreement which provides for substantial devolved powers in a sub-region of one of the 9 proposed provinces of a new South Africa. But any such deal would still leave a large number of right-wingers in an angry and alienated mood, still demanding the autonomous white homeland which the government and the ANC will never agree to. Fergal Keane, BBC News, Cape Town.
Conservatives will sabotage the country's first multi-party elections, which are due next April.
The day began with high hopes, as word circulated Parliament that the ANC and the Afrikaner Volksfront had managed to break the deadlock that threatens South Africa's constitutional reform process.
That, of course, minimizes the possibilities of violence, and it opens the door once again for an inclusive as possible arrangement of this country.
Nelson Mandela has always argued that Afrikaner fears that their interests would be crushed in a new South Africa in which the ANC will dominate had to be addressed. And General Constant Viljoen, former head of South Africa's defence forces, now leader of the Volksfront, understands more than most right-wing leaders what the consequences of civil war would be. But some elements on the right, not least the neo-Nazi AWB resistance movement, will not be satisfied with a loose arrangement between the ANC and the Afrikaner Volksfront. Certainly not after the ANC made clear tonight that they will not tolerate the idea of an Afrikaner homeland if that meant that with the arrival of democracy for the rest of South Africa, non-whites were treated as second-class citizens. On a second front, the ANC's meeting with government negotiators and representatives of the Freedom Alliance, which encompasses right-wing groups and the Zulu-based Inkatha Freedom Party, looked destined to fail tonight. The ANC offered to compromise on constitutional powers being given to South Africa's regions, including Inkatha's power base in Natal KwaZulu, but for their part, the alliance had to accept as a precondition that if agreement were reached, they would take part in next April's elections. They refused to make that commitment.
We see a total intransigence on their part and a refusal to be part of the process as such.
Tonight, this warning came from the commission that's been set up to establish a peaceful environment for next April's elections.
The alternative is too horrible to contemplate. It just has to work.
The ANC's strategy is clear. They're willing to negotiate with the Freedom Alliance in the hope of exposing weaknesses within right-wing groups and Inkatha. There's no question of delaying Parliament's vote on the new constitution or of delaying April's elections. What the ANC want is to weaken resistance and to minimize the risk of violence. John Harrison, BBC News, Cape Town.